today, Peter?
Yeah, no, I'm really well, thanks. Really well. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good, Peter. So, Peter, your debut full-length album, The Space Inbetween, is to be out tomorrow. Would you like to tell me a bit on the songwriting and production behind this new album?
Yeah, no, so yes, crazy to think it's come around now. It feels like it's been a long time in the works. Um, yeah, I mean, we're really excited to get it out now. It's been great seeing some of the reception of like the different people we've sent it to for review, and friends and family that have listened to it and have been lucky enough to see some of the songs live. Yeah, so just really excited now to get it officially released tomorrow, and start selling some of the CDs at gigs, and see how we go. It's going to be really good.
Yes, and was there any concept or a theme that goes behind this album?
Yeah, so when we started to write material for the album, Sam had joined the band sort of in 2020, and that was kind of the catalyst for when we were in the room and we were playing and we were sort of having some jams. We were like, okay, this is getting a little bit more experimental. We're sort of using a few more effects. We're having a bit more looseness to what we're playing, and that bled into what we were doing live. So previously, when we were in like the different format under Black Atlas, we were quite sort of, we'd turn up and we'd play the songs as they were. Whereas when Sam joined, we started that we were actually seeing that we would be jamming on sections, we'd be extending things out. So we wanted to carry that forward, and we wanted to get a bit more of an identity around the band. So a few of us are quite into sort of our space themes and that sort of like, exploration, outer space. So we wanted to kind of bring some of that in, and it felt like it tied quite nicely with, using some of the effects that we were using, like the sort of delays and the choruses that were kind of adding that sort of astral sort of feeling to some of the songs. So we kind of just doubled down on that, and we're like, that's a really good idea. Originally, when we were talking about recording, we had a really crazy idea of that we would do a kind of like 4 EPs that would be kind of like concept albums or concept EPs, and then you could put them together to become the album. We realized that once we started to get into that, we were like, actually, that's an awful lot of work and quite difficult to do. So we went, let's just make this an album as a total. And we, worked out, I think, better in that case, because it meant that we could really, focus on what we were doing in the recording studio at the time.
Fantastic, fantastic. And speaking on the album, 10 mind-blowing songs, beautifully written. You have taken the roots of doom metal and like blended it together with the 90s grunge rock and with the old style of modern rock into it. And it sounds totally new, totally amazing, and wonderful job from you guys. I totally enjoyed each and every song from this album. So thank you so much for this musical awesomeness. And as a band, as a creator, how do you guys feel about the outcome of this new album?
Yeah, so well, firstly, thank you. That's really nice to hear. That's really nice. But yeah, we are really happy. We put a lot of time and effort into writing the material for this, and as you said, we drew on a lot of different influences. If you look at like our musical history in the band, there's a lot of different genres and styles that we've been into over the years, and as I'm sure being into music, that kind of goes into this melting pot and throws something else out. And we've got that, like say, that sort of stoner doom influence. There's definitely some grunge in there. There's probably even some new metal creeping around from when we were sort of young teenagers. And then you've got some of the more classic sort of rock stuff in there. So there's definitely some sort of Pink Floyd vibes and early Black Sabbath coming through. But like we really focused when we were writing, trying to really push ourselves to be, this has got to be the best song that we can make it. Some of that led to some quite, uncomfortable challenges of, from us as players being like, okay, well, I found I was going into areas I was like, I'm not quite comfortable doing this, but I need to go there to really elevate what we're doing. So when we got to the end of the recording, we were actually, really stoked that even just the raw tracks that we had, and we tracked it live in the studio, we were like, this sounds good before it's even gone through the mix and before we've added all the extra sparkles and extras on top. And you know that you could look around the room and you could see everybody, you know, nodding their head, smiling. So that gave us a real positive. So we're really happy how it's come out.
Interesting. And any big plans for tomorrow, the day of the release?
Yes, well, so unfortunately we don't have a big album release gig, but there is a gig going on locally. So one of our favourite local venues, Club 85, is doing a few fundraising gigs to hopefully save itself. So we're going to go down and attend that and support some of our other favourite local bands like The Grey and Everest Queen. So it'd be great to get down there and support them. We haven't got a gig until next month now, which will be kind of the big album release for us, which will be great to start selling it to the audience members and stuff that are there.
Fantastic. And any big touring plans that you guys have planned for the year?
Yeah, so we're just working through getting some dates in the diary. So we've got, I think now we've got 3 or 4 dates locked in, and we're still adding some more to the calendar. Aim will be that we'll then hopefully roll that into next year, and you know, look to get a few little tours booked in through 2025. There's a couple of bands that we'd love to go and do that with. It's just trying to align all the diaries and calendars of everybody to get them in. But yeah, that'll be the plan. But yeah, we've got a few gigs lined up now that people can find on our social medias to see when those dates are.
Okay. And you have also released the song Way Down Below music video for this song. And would you like to tell me on the making of this video?
Yeah, so Way Down Below is an interesting one. So that was a song that, I mean, that originally started way back in 2020. So that was like early demos of that were written during COVID. And we used that as kind of the catalyst for Erronaut. So that was kind of the first single that we released as a band. We carried that through to the album because we thought that was, you know, it was a pivotal song for us as a unit. For that video, we actually went back to some guys that we'd used before, and we recorded it locally down in Luton. So there's a really nice venue there where sort of big open room that's got like loads of different features like lights and curtains that you can pull to make it into a bit of a set. We really like the idea of those kind of like really stripped back videos where it's, you know, you're not telling a story such to it. It's more about the band playing. So the idea was that we wanted kind of a, you know, simple sort of black and white style basic video at the start, and then it would sort of split into that more kind of psychedelic color, you know, at the end as the song picks up. I'm sure most people figure out that influence comes from Black Sabbath. So, you know, some of their early videos when you've got all that kind of crazy stuff going on in the background, that's kind of where we drew that idea from. And it was also our first opportunity to bring in that kind of space theme. So the kind of colors and the way it's edited at the end, it's sort of, the idea is that that's meant to sort of visualize some of the sort of, you know, traveling through space and bringing that theme into our videos.
Yes, interesting. And any plans to come up with more videos from this album?
Yes, yeah. So I can give you an exclusive on that one because we haven't told anybody else yet. But we are going into the studio next month, and we're going to do a video for an unreleased song off the album. So we're going to be doing a video for the song Underneath the Sun, and that'll be the next video that comes out for that album.
Fantastic. Looking forward to it, Peter. And would you like to tell me how Erronaut started and how do you guys form together as a band?
Yeah, sure. So there's a bit of history with us as a band. So myself and Simon Wilson, the bassist, we've been in bands going back to when we were teenagers. So me and Wilson know each other from school. We were in like a thrash metal band back when we were like 16, 17. And we've been in bands throughout the years. When we originally were in Black Atlas, so that's when Mikey joined the band. So Mikey knew a friend of ours who was the previous drummer. When the previous drummer James left, that's when Sam joined back in 2020. We found Sam through our local rehearsal space at the time, Sound Arc Studios, so they actually had a connection with Sam. We brought him in, and there was just this instant sort of connection with the four of us as a unit, which was brilliant. So not only, you know, we were just able to connect and jam on the songs really quickly. You know, Sam came in, he knew the material, really solid drummer. but there was just this kind of spark that meant that we could just instantly, you know, we knew where he was going, he knew where we wanted to go. But he, you know, he just fitted in with the kind of personalities in the group as well, which was really great. And, you know, such an important part of being in a band is that you get along as a unit. We did one gig with Sam as Black Atlas. Then COVID hit and we were locked down. Throughout that time, we were like, okay, well, let's use this to start kind of just, you know, sending some ideas around. As we came out of COVID, we had the great opportunity that we could play Bloodstock Festival. So Sam's second gig in the band was playing Bloodstock Festival, which was like a you know, jumping in the deep end, trial by fire for him. But it was, you know, such a great experience for us as a band playing at a you know, a festival of that size and scale. And we really, you know, used that as a way to motivate us to move forwards. The tough decision was that we took the decision to say, well, actually, the stuff that we've been writing, it is a step away from Black Atlas, and we didn't want to necessarily stick with that name and that sort of visual identity. And we took the hard decision to say, actually, look, we're going to rename ourselves and kind of relaunch ourselves as Erronaut. It was definitely the right thing for us to do. So we kind of reset. We went in and recorded Way Down Below as a single version, and we used that to really to kind of relaunch as the Erronaut brand. And then we went into the studio in March 2023, and that's when we started the recording of the Space Inbetween, and then that's kind of just led us up to now. And then between them, we'd be doing, you know, gigging and when and where we can. But yeah, that's kind of like the history of how we've got to Erronaut as the lineup we are.
Fantastic, fantastic. And does Aeronaut has some kind of focus, a musical focus, or some kind of based concept behind the band, stating this is how we are going to be in the future, and this is what we are going to create. Do you have some kind of guidelines for the band?
Yeah, so it goes back to some of the bits we've talked about previously, but you know, one thing we really liked when Sam came into the group was that it instantly allowed us to become a bit more experimental and to have a bit more freedom in jamming around with songs and ideas. So we definitely lean a lot on Sleep here as an influence around, you know, you have kind of a core structure or a core idea in terms of a riff or a chorus. And then we sort of take that and we will build off of that through, you know, just being in the studio and jamming and building out a song from there. Our approach is very much, you know, when we're writing songs, it's like, you know, no idea is off the table. And once we've got a group of ideas together, we will then maybe sort of say, okay, what doesn't quite fit into the parameters of what we want to be? You know we want, you know, big riffs. We know we've got that sort of fuzz guitar tone, but we want to bring in some of that kind of, you know, instrumental experimentation, sort of, you know, proggy sort of influences that we can sometimes find in the sort of stoner world and doom world. And that's kind of the remit we're in, but we're trying not to, you know, bucket ourselves too limited, because we like having that kind of experimentation. But we're very aligned now on, you know, what's the sound that we want to have as a band in our heads. Sometimes it's hard to articulate into words, but you know, when you're in a room and you've got something going that you're like, okay, no, this is definitely the right type of song. You know, we've had some examples where we've been, you know, jamming on something in the practice room and we're like, this is absolutely brilliant. And then you go back and listen to the recording and you're like, yeah, it's great, but it's not Erronaut, it's, you know, something else. So we put that on the shelf for another rainy day.
Great. And as your debut is being an amazing album, an outstanding one, do you think this is going to put a lot of pressure on your upcoming works?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, because there is that fear of like, oh, you don't want to have a great debut album and then follow it up with that was it, what's the saying, like that yeah, not terrible second album, but you know, there's that difficult second album, isn't it? That's always the trap you fall into. I think for us, there's definitely pressure on us internally, you know, that we hold the bar quite high for ourselves, that we want to make sure we don't slack and just kind of write anything generic and, you know, fall back on the default templates that you could use. But I think, you know, we're honest enough with ourselves that we wouldn't put something onto tape without knowing it's good enough, you know, to compete with this first album. We're definitely you know, as we go into next year, we're going to start writing more material for our second album. We've definitely got that ambition as a band to bring out another album, and 100% we would want it to be better than the Space Inbetween. And you know, it's great to hear people say that we've set the bar quite high there. But I think, you know, we definitely agree as a band, as we've been writing together more and more, it feels like we are, you know, that curve is going upwards. So you know, we're confident that we can deliver something that's even better next time round. And hopefully, you know, when we get it out to the world, other people agree with us.
And Peter, finally, any message that you have for the fans and the people who are new to Erronaut?
Well, firstly, thank you for listening to the songs or the album. We're really thankful for everybody that enjoys it. If you can come to a gig, please come to a gig. We know that's maybe limited for some of the people that are listening outside of the UK, but feel free to reach out to us through social medias and say that you know, you're loving what you're hearing. We love to see, you know, where people are listening to us around the world through streaming services and other channels. It's great to see, and at some point down the line, we'd love to be able to get out to some other countries and come and gig in your areas. So let us know where you're from, and we'll see if we can sort something out in the future. But yeah, the main message is thank you so much for enjoying the music, and yeah, please keep listening.
Yes, fantastic, Peter. And Peter, I want to thank you so much for giving me today this wonderful opportunity to have you on this interview, and a real pleasure to let me listen to Erronaut's new album. Like I said earlier, The Space Inbetween, which is going to be out tomorrow, is a fantastic album. I think a lot of people is going to fall in love with this new album. And I want to thank you guys so much for this musical awesomeness. And I wish you all the best. And I'm really hoping to see you guys on the road someday real soon.
Yeah, I really appreciate it, Keith. Thank you so much for the time today. And yeah, hopefully we see you in the future on the road.
Thank you, mate. And you have a good day. Take care of yourself. Bye-bye.
Thank you.